Chapter 6. Logistic Bomb. In the cockpit of the Nero, leading the assault squadron, the pilot's breath hitched. A square window on the linear seat's panoramic monitor opened, zooming in on the scene ahead. There, in the void, an endless array of deep blue mobile suits adorned with the new Decide's colors floated. Their battleships and cruisers loomed behind, guns ominously aimed in their direction. "It's an ambush!" The pilot's realization came in a sharp, urgent exclamation. With a swift movement, the pilot slammed the red emergency switch beside the console. Purple flares shot from the craft's brow, spiraling upwards before exploding, casting a persistent pale violet glow. Purple flares ahead. Break radio silence. The surprise attack's blown. The S-Gundam, just behind the second Nero wave, abruptly transformed out of cruiser mode. It floated, centered, and vigilant. Upon seeing the flares, Roots's realization was immediate. They had walked into a trap. But it was already too late, and Roots realized he wasn't the only one who had seen them. Show them a real space battle. Artillery firing range? 15,000. Fire at will. Admiral Anno's voice thundered from the Bull Run, now aligned with the new Decide's forces. From the new Decide's ships, beams of light lanced through the darkness, accompanied by a relentless barrage of missiles. They surged forth like malevolent hands, eager to engulf the Nero vanguard and drag it into the abyss. It was likely Task Force Alpha that had launched the attack. Time to test if that rookie ensign has the makings of a senior officer after all. In his mind's eye, he pictured the promising cadet, the one who had graduated top of his Federation Academy class. If the boy could best A.E.U.G in this battle, he would prove himself a worthy successor. Within the old admiral stirred a sensation akin to fatherly pride for the young officer. But of course, he had no intention of losing to his sons either. Having personally handed the young officer his graduation certificate, A.E.U.G was intimately aware of his weaknesses. Top students never failed to act by the book. "Vanguard mobile suit team annihilated," reported the comms officer, his voice devoid of emotion. Heathrow leaned forward, his eyes narrowing in focus. A moment later, he cursed under his breath and slumped back into his chair, weighed down by frustration. "Deploy M warheads," he ordered. "Request their launch from all ships and expedite the recovery of our mobile suit squadrons." Mannings, overseeing the mobile suit forces from the bridge, was aghast. "M warheads? The use of Minovsky particle weapons is prohibited under the Granada Treaty. Doesn't it require authorization from the High Command? M warheads, specialized weapons designed to neutralize long and medium-range beam attacks through the effects of beam disruption screens and the dispersal of high-density Minovsky particles." After the conclusion of the one-year war, a treaty was signed in the lunar city of Granada that not only reaffirmed the ban on the use of nuclear weapons, but also included a clause prohibiting the military use of Minovsky particles, except for fusion reactors, shields, megaparticle cannons, and field barriers. The excessive use of Minovsky particles during the one-year war had caused various problems in society afterward, and the direct dispersion of Minovsky particles had been considered pollution of the Earth sphere, comparable to the crisis of ozone layer destruction by CFC gases in the previous century. The Earth Federation government, influenced by the A.E.U.G, had strictly forbidden their military use, in line with their purification of the Earth sphere doctrine. Now, Heathrow was about to remove those shackles, a decision that understandably unnerved Manning. Uncharacteristically reckless for a by-the-book commander, he spat out angrily. "And besides, it's too damn late for M warheads now." In a burst of frustration, Heathrow pounded his fist against the console in front of the comms officer. Once again, his poor judgment had cost them dearly. Where he had assumed there could be no enemy presence, a whole battle group lay concealed in wait. In an instant, The simultaneous barrage from battleships and cruisers obliterated 9 mobile suits. A deep-seated regret from the 1-year war resurfaced within him, stirring old emotions. Out of the 30 units in the attack team, only 12 remained. Their hope now rested on being the first to breach Air's city. Captain, we've received a message from the S Gundam. Enemy mobile suits show no movement, they're likely decoys. Relayed the communications officer, translating Root's colorful language. What? Decoys? Then the main mobile suit force is already at Air City. A series of worst-case scenarios unfolded rapidly. At the helm of the S Gundam, Roots deftly sliced through the rubber vinyl Zeku decoys, using low-powered beam cannon fire. What the hell are you doing? Crypt shouted, closing in from behind in his phase unit. Just what it looks like. Where are the others? Roots replied. The fleet attack team's been wiped out. The rest are descending to Ayers. Who the fuck decided that? Even with the Gundams, with just 6 of us, we can't fend off a fleet. There's no enemy mobile suits here. We have to act now. But then, a message from the Nero team arrived. Hey, big shots. You taking on the whole enemy fleet by yourselves back there? Draw their fire good. Yeah, here. Shit, he spat, turning the S Gundam around. Mickey Mouse sons of bitches, he grumbled under his breath. With the Nero fleet attack team annihilated, he had no choice but to support the lunar descent team. Chong Young, part of the descending team, set the Nero's IMPC mode and began the lunar descent sequence. IMPC Mode 4. Landing approach setting, surface descent. Environment, lunar surface. Normal environment assistive device equipped. Auto mode initiated time, 1200. He inputs the descent coordinates, and the system operates smoothly. Yet, in this realm of human endeavor, mischief lurked like a capricious fairy, ready to toy with their fates. As the descent timer's countdown inexorably ticked away, the moment it hit 666. Shame. Whoa. What the hell? The monitor erupted in a chaos of incomprehensible text, its flashing colors framing the mocking words, "Shame on you." The Nero's IMPC was sabotaged, swiftly losing control. A latent virus in the combat data ravaged the Nero's databank, corrupting it and reducing it to nothing more than a hollow shell of machinery in an instant. This thwarted any attempt by the Federation forces at a moon landing, all due to the insidious logistic bomb planted by the new D-sides. As the Instructor Corps was responsible for combat data uploads to all mobile suit forces, they had exploited that access. Anticipating Luna would become a battlefield, the new D-sides had embedded a program to destroy any IMPC interface during descent sequences. Unaware of this, a former Instructor Corps analyst returned to Earth, brought back the latest combat data. The Federation, not suspecting a planned rebellion from the Instructor Corps, fell for what was, in this era, a primitive trap. The single miscalculation made by the new D-sides was that the logic bomb had been intended to sow maximum chaos during the Federation's all-out attack, but instead prematurely triggered now during Task Force Alpha's solo sortie, rendering it useless for future surprise attacks. Manual control. We do it manually. At this altitude, recalibrating to ascent vector could still give them a fighting chance. But the 2 Neros ahead, like overturned turtles, fell straight down like plumb bobs. Chung Young gritted his teeth, struggling to shut out the haunting screams of the pilots, but it was a futile effort. Losing focus now would doom him as well. Panic was the path to defeat. I won't die. Not like this. Cutting off the autopilot, he relied solely on his skills and experience. The revived monitor showed unfiltered, raw images of space ahead. He watched the bottomless, starry sky tilt wildly, while the moon's horizon loomed larger on the right. This shift indicated the Nero's changing descent posture. Roots watched in horrified disbelief as the scene unfolded. What the hell is happening? From beyond the orbit, something fast approached the disoriented Nero team from above. It was soon clear, enemy mobile suits. Damn it! They're sitting ducks like this. I've got to help them. Alice? Crap. Oh no. This is bad. Threat detected. They're one of us? Group of people. Logical choice. To help? Combat? A battle to preserve the lives of allies. Even though I don't feel pain myself, I do not understand. Human pain. Is that what makes me human? Roots trained his beam cannons on the approaching cluster of mobile suits. Cowards. In the cockpit of the Nero, proximity alarms blared urgently. Damn it, I'm completely helpless here. Chung Young cursed at the mobile suit swarm vectoring in. Fighting to regain control left no attention to spare for combat. Guess I'm royally fucked, huh? He wondered in a surge of despair, only to be startled by a sudden burst of light enveloping the encroaching enemy units. Who is that? Chung Young saw it was the Gundam, the S-Gundam, covering them. Its pilot was the brash, selfish runt they'd scorned. So why now? Beams lanced out from the Zeta Plus and Phaz teams, adding their firepower to Root's barrage. Their concentrated firepower swiftly obliterated the enemy mobile suits. Well, shit. With the immediate danger cleared, the Neros managed to stabilize their course into lunar orbit. Thanks for the assist, big shots. Hey, just consider it a loan, buddy boys. Roots and company swung into escort formation around them. Captain, the descent team has aborted and entered lunar orbit, the comms officer related. They seem to be low on propellant. Should we have the fleet escort mobile suits recover them? Heathrow paused in thought. No, wait. I see. Walk right into his trap, yes. Unconsciously, he muttered. Old fox. Why aren't we recovering the mobile suit teams? Are you saying you want my subordinates to become sitting ducks and be slaughtered as lunar satellites? Mannings challenged him. Afraid so. But pulling the escorts back now would spell far worse. Heathrow's voice held an odd certainty. Because here comes the vulture. A hunch told Mannings that Heathrow still had an ace up his sleeve. Meanwhile, new Deside's leader Brave Cod had returned to the battleship Kilimanjaro for resupply, satisfied with the performance of his Mark V. Not bad at all, took out 9 together. What's the status of our other units? Cod asked, removing his helmet as he met Cray outside the mobile suit hangar airlock. Well, it's a mixed bag. Most of our units have descended to the moon's surface in their Ziku, under Offshore's command. The fleet's resupplying and maintaining air defense over Ayer's city. Admiral A.E.U.G seems to have repelled their surprise attack. But there's bad news. What is it? The attackers weren't the Federation's main fleet. Whether their commander is a fool or overly confident, I don't know. But they attempted to land mobile suits on Luna. We dispatched our third wave for interception, but they were overwhelmed by a monstrous mobile suit. So, the logistic bomb. Our cover's blown. Seems like it. But it's not all bad. If they're set on eradicating us on Luna, they'd inevitably have to destroy Air City as well. Doing so would inevitably involve civilian casualties, causing universal backlash from the lunar cities. That would easily pave the way for our Lunar City Alliance initiative. Sever the flesh to break the bone, Cod mused thoughtfully. But their conversation was interrupted by a blaring alarm. Commander Cod, you're needed on the bridge immediately. A young crew member burst into the airlock, visibly panicked. Stay calm. What's happening? Cod admonished. A massive fleet. Earth's home fleet. Cod and Cray exchanged glances, nodded, and quickly gripped the ship's internal lift to rush to the bridge. Why aren't they coming to retrieve us? Wondered the pilots in the Nero team, currently being protected by the S-Gundam. The Gundam, with weapons aimed outward, had formed a defensive circle around the 4 Nero units adrift in lunar orbit. Inside the circle, 3 FAS units built for long-range combat kept watch, while 2 Zeta plus units patrolled the orbit's forefront. Out of the 30 suits in the attack force, only 10 remain now, Chung-Yung transmitted to Roots. For all we know, the fleet's been wiped out too by this point. You still have enough propellant to make it back, right? Roots responded with a dismissive snort. If the fleet's space dust, we got nowhere to retreat to anyway. Might as well stay put here a while longer. You really are an odd one. Pot calling the kettle black, pal? Roots shot back. Alice? Odd one. Abnormal. Kettle black. Everyone abnormal. Everyone soldier. Soldiers are abnormal. War is abnormal. Is everyone going mad? Just then, the forgotten mobile suit squad noticed countless tiny lights emerging from the void, converging rapidly toward them. Here they come. Looks like we're going out in a blaze of glory, boys. Hold on. Chung-Yung focused intently on the rhythmic white flashes. It was evident that inaction would leave them staring into the abyss. Heathrow steeled himself for the worst. No way 5 lone ships of Task Force Alpha could withstand the onslaught about to descend. The razor-taloned vulture would swoop in to shred them to bits without mercy. But he refused to go down without a fight, without making them pay dearly for it. The erstwhile star pupil, tested in trial by fire time and again, had at last learned to think on his feet instead of just by the book. The astronavigator, with an intense gaze fixed on the monitor's blips and identification signals, nearly bit his tongue in sheer urgency. "See, Captain. I have a fleet on scope. A huge battle group approaching, so you finally came, you old buzzard." Reading multiple friendly transponders. The Nagato, the Exeter, the Scharnhorst. It's the home fleet. What? They made it in time after all? Heathrow murmured in disbelief. A split second later, triumphant cheers erupted across the bridge as the truth dawned on all. Displayed on the monitors was an imposing battle line, its presence magnified as it glittered majestically in the reflected sunlight off the moon's surface. The unmistakable vanguard of the Federation main fleet, who had burned max speed all the way from Penta with fuel efficiency be damned. At this juncture, the balance of power was about to shift again. The long 13 days of Task Force Alpha were nearing their end. 800 Earth Standard Time, March 14th. On board the flagship Nagato of the home fleet, Heathrow was briefed on Eagle Fall, a major descent operation on Ayr City. As he had suggested, all mobile suit units' IMPC data was to be altered. However, debugging the new data was not an easy task, and they lacked both time and resources. Therefore, it was decided to revert to a previous version of the data. Reverting to the old data would expedite the process, relative to modifying the new data, albeit at the cost of relying on outdated combat data, resulting in a decrease in individual mobile suit combat effectiveness. Still, it was deemed better than using unreliable data and could malfunction at any time. Task Force Alpha reorganized their ship-based mobile suit units to prepare for this battle. Although they could receive supplies for their units, there was no provision for replenishing pilots. Therefore, 4 ships dispatched from the main fleet were newly organized as Task Force Beta, which would provide support to Task Force Alpha. Operation Eagle Fall, marked for execution 3 days from now on, March 17th, loomed on the horizon.